Just going to start off by talking a little bit about what the software is, but the majority of this I'm actually just going to be showing you it. So hopefully a lot of people on this are already quite familiar with Sonocent as a company. We've been around for about 10 years now, and we're best known for our software audio note-taker. But recently we created and released a new piece of note-taking software called Glean, and that's what I'm here to show you today. So to give you a little bit of a background to this, I don't want to dwell too much at all on the challenges that a lot of people have when they're taking notes, because I think a lot of people already acknowledge this. As I'm sure you know, note-taking relies quite heavily on having a good working memory, which a lot of students have difficulties with, and it also requires you to maintain focus for long periods of time. I mean, just sitting in a classroom, in a lecture, in a seminar, in a meeting for an hour, 2 hours, that's a long time to be able to sit and focus enough to process information and take notes. Then of course we've got a lot of people who with physical challenges, which makes it difficult to actually write notes down in more of a traditional manner. Now, Glean as an app is designed obviously to help you solve this problem or aid with the note-taking process. And it really is quite simple, the principles behind it. So effectively, it is a web app which allows you to capture all of the information from a teaching session, wherever that might be. So it allows you to bring in audio, any slides, and then combine that with your own text notes all in one place. And what it encourages you to do, it encourages you to not just sit back passively within these environments and learn, but to be listening out for key moments, to be actively listening for important information, and then tagging that information in real time. And the real nice thing about it is, especially with the way we are currently learning and the way we're probably going to be continuing to learn throughout the next academic year, is that it works when you're in a classroom face to face, but you can also do it when you're working online. So you could use it right now for capturing information from this webinar that we're going through. And then the idea is that whatever you capture live in the moment, you can then go back and review at your own pace afterwards. Now, there's just a couple of key things that I want to mention that makes Glean unique. And I think it's really important to get this across before I show you it. The first thing is that it is a web app. It runs via Google Chrome. But importantly, you don't have to be online to use it. It works 100% fully offline. In fact, the only part of the online aspect that is used is to sync any events up to your cloud account, which means that they will appear on your mobile app, on your computer. It means you can basically log into your account from any computer in the world and access everything. In terms of how you use it, it's designed to be easy. That is the whole principle of the whole concept, is not to make an overly complicated piece of software, but one that you can just pick up and use straight away. So it doesn't have 1,000,001 functions that can be quite daunting for first-time users. The interface is really clean, really, really simple. And that's because the whole point of using our app is that it's designed so that you don't have to do much. Now, just to elaborate on this a little bit, just think about the context in which you're wanting to take notes. You're going to be in a meeting, you're going to be in a classroom, you're going to be in a seminar, tutorial. You're going to be in an environment where all of your focus shouldn't be on using a piece of technology. All of your focus should be on the content of the class. So that's why we've designed it to require the bare minimum attention and input from the user. And we also try to build something which would work for what I would class as a more modern day student. So our target audience tends to be your 16 to 25-year-old. That's not to say that it can't be used by a younger audience, but it tends to be people within FE and HE who use our apps. And what we've done is we've designed it to make it feel very, very familiar. So we did a lot of research into other common apps and platforms that people were using, the likes of Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, and all of these things that people are really, really comfortable and familiar with, and try to mimic our app based on those platforms, because we want it to feel normal. We want it to feel just natural and familiar to the end user, because we know if we do that, then it's far more likely that it actually will be used. So that's a little introduction to it. Now I want to actually go and show you it, if that's okay. I just want to double check something before I continue on. Yes, just making sure that you guys can still hear me. I had a slight moment of panic there where I started questioning whether my microphone was still on mute. But anyway, we'll keep going. So, first things first then. You have actually two options to use Glean. The first one is a web app, so it runs via a Google Chrome browser. So you would literally just go to your web app, and you can do this online or offline. So it's app.glean.co, and we can do it directly from here. This is the route you would take if you were wanting to do this on a Windows, a Mac, or if you were a Chromebook user. This is the way you would do it. But we've also got a mobile app as well, because a lot of people prefer to use their Android devices, their iOS devices. So just to very quickly show you, if I drag this across here, this is literally my phone, just being projected onto the screen now. And it's just to show you we have a little Glean app in there. So if I just tap to launch the Glean app, you can see the interface. Now the important thing about this is that this is one and the same account. So I'll log into my account on either of these. And when I'm using Glean and I'm online, or I go online afterwards, it syncs everything up. So it doesn't matter what I use. If I create a new mobile app, it will then appear on the web app and vice versa. So it works really, really well. There's no having to manually transfer things across from one to the other. Just for the ease of this demonstration, though, I will show you it on the web app. It's a little bit easier than showing you it on the mobile. So we'll just drag that back off the screen for a moment or two. So this is our dashboard. If we want to create a new event, we go into new event. Now you have a couple of options here in terms of where you want to get the information from. If you were sat face to face, you would just be recording directly from your microphone. But if you're working online, attending an online lecture or webinar, then you don't want to get it just from your microphone. You would click the little drop down option, and then you've got the option to get it from the audio that's coming out of your computer instead. You can actually have an option for getting both if you wanted to, which would be really good if you were wanting to take notes for maybe a one-to-one tutorial or a group discussion that you were having remotely, because it will then get it from the microphone and from the audio. So you just choose which option's best for you depending on your environment. In this example, I'll just be talking, so I will just use the normal microphone. Now, other types of information you might find useful here is visual information, or I guess within an educational context, we're talking about slides really. You don't have to use slides alongside Glean. It can just be the audio, but we will show you how slides works. So if I had some slides to go alongside this class, I could go and import them in. I'm going to import them in before I start recording. You can do this after the event if you want. So what do? Class starts, and then I click the record button because I want to capture everything that the teacher says. So you'll see how this works. As soon as we start recording within Glean, the audio is captured and it's visualized on the screen as these blocks of speech with these gaps in them whenever there's a distinctive pause. So this is really important because it means that the audio becomes really easy to navigate afterwards. And it also means that we can link specific text notes or labels to moments within this audio that we can then go back to and review at our leisure afterwards. And there's a few simple ways in which you can tag this. You can either take a text-based approach, or you can use labels, or you can combine the two together. So let's imagine I'm sitting in a class now, and I don't have time, or I'm not able to write up any detailed notes, but I do just want to jot a few keywords down. So all I need to do is just start typing. And my caps lock's on there. You'll see what happens. You just start typing. It goes in the little text area down the bottom. You press enter, and it posts that note to your notes feed on the right-hand side. This is very much trying to mimic your social media platforms where you enter your status update and post it to the wall or your feed. It's a very, very familiar concept. And you can see all that it's doing here is saying, that's my brief text note, and that's linked to that part of the audio. It really is as simple as that, and that's how you can use it. Just type and enter, type and enter. Or if you want to add a little bit more information to your notes, you can start using these labels as well. These are designed specifically to be like emojis, because that's what a lot of people are used to and familiar with using these days. So maybe I decide to take a note and I think it's an important note. So I can type important, put my note in, and then click important to label it as important. And then when it goes to my feed, you'll see it puts the little important emoji just to give you a bit more information to that note. So it's nice and easy for us to do. Now, if you're like me and you find it somewhat distracting moving from a keyboard input to a mouse input, you'd be pleased to know you can do all of this just with your keyboard if you want. We've got a little thing in here called quick actions. So let me just show you how that works. Say I type in review book. So I want to review this book. Pressing the / key brings up my list of quick actions. From here, I can select what I want nice and easily. It means that I can use all these tools without taking my hands off the keyboard. So you can annotate it like that, or if you want, you can do the same thing and just remove the text altogether. Because some people find any kind of text input while they're trying to concentrate, focus in the moment to be challenging. So it can do exactly the same thing, only this time, don't bother typing. So I could press the space bar, hit enter. I can click and hold on one of the labels. I can use my quick actions as before. It doesn't really matter how you do it. Some people like to use a combination, depending on the context, depending on the information that's been presented. And it just sticks a little placeholder in here instead for you to go back in and expand upon it later. And if you're wanting to use slides and add slides to your feed, then you can do. So say the lecturer moves to the next slide, you can post the next slide. And you can make your way through your slides, adding whichever ones are relevant to your set of notes. It really is simple. You can pick this up within minutes. The whole idea behind all of this, though, is that when you've been through this process, you get to the end of that class, the end of the lecture, you might end up with a file that looks a little bit more like this. So this is a kind of one I did before. Now, of course, this isn't a complete set of notes at this point, but it's also not just an hour of someone talking, which is going to be very, very difficult to go through and extract that useful information from. So what I can do here, nice and simply, is there's several different ways you can do this, by the way, but my preferred way is just to go through my brief notes and then go and play this back. So I've put in a task, B and T. Don't know what that means, but I can play that back easily.
So, if you've ever watched Doctor Who or movies like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah, so that task was to watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I can now obviously go in here, I can add those notes in more detail. You can expand that if you want to focus on each individual note a little bit easier, and then you write your notes up. And it really is as simple as that. You still have to go through this process and do it yourself, but it just makes it much, much easier. And once you've been through this whole process, you end up with a completed set of notes a little bit like this. And once you've got it in here, you can leave it in here. If you want, you can review it in here when it comes to revising for an exam or helping you write up an essay. Or you can jump into a reading view, which just simplifies the view. It gets rid of the audio, it gets rid of all of that side of it, and just leaves you with your notes. And you can take it out of Glean if you want. You can print them, or what a lot of people do is just copy them to the clipboard, then go into a word processor. I use Google Docs. So you could just go in here, paste your notes in here, and then you've got your written set of notes. And that is the whole concept behind Glean. And just to very quickly finish this off, if I drag my mobile app back on here and just refresh the page, you'll see that what we've just created is now also available on my mobile. So you can see the instant sync between the two of them. It's really quite a slick system. Now, that's only a bit of a snippet of what it can do, obviously. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about it, if you'd like a demonstration copy of the software to have a play with and use it yourself, then please do get in touch. Just pop my details on the screen there. If you just jot them down, tell me what you need, whether it's a demonstration, we have more detailed webinars that we do, a free account, anything like that. Just drop me an email and we'll sort everything out for you.